Hello, today I'm going to talk about a live work. The artist is The Doors. The piece is The Celebration of the Lizard, and I'm going to talk about various versions from various years, and the label is Elektra Records. So the majority of bands try to reproduce their record when they play live, but I feel like The Doors always did the opposite, and you have to give them credit for trying that. Jim Morrison made things unpredictable, and if you dive into their live catalog, you will see this. They're always kind of playing around with different versions of Break On Through, Light My Fire, etc. With The Celebration of the Lizard, they try to turn a concert into a transformative experience, not entertainment. And I think this is admirable, whether it succeeds or not. I often wonder what the audience thought of this in real time. I'm trying to imagine if I went to a concert and I saw something like this. I've been to many shows in my life. I've seen some crazy things, ranging from insane kind of punk shows to all kinds of things. But to take, 17 minutes out of a show and play something like this is pretty ballsy. Essential listening. Like I said, this is about 17 minutes. It varies, but these are the main sections. They're often divided into tracks on the releases, even though this is kind of one thing. Starts out with Lions in the Street. There's this kind of percussion that sounds like a snake rattle. This is the intro of the work. The lyrics are quite iconic and they draw you in. Lions in the street and roaming. Dogs in heat, rapid foaming. A beast caged in the heart of a city. The body of his mother rotting in the summer ground. He fled the town, went down south and crossed the border, left the chaos and disorder back there over his shoulder. One morning he awoke in a green hotel with a strange creature groaning beside him. Sweat oozed from its shiny skin. Is everybody in? Is everybody in? The ceremony is about to begin. This sounds like an invocation or the ritual is about to start. Then they go into Wake Up. I suppose this is more lyrical than poetic, and I wonder if the teenagers that were at these shows got what he was saying. This turns into a little game, which is kind of a demented nursery rhyme. But I love all the transitions in this, how this whole thing flows. Goes into the hill dwellers. And this is when the piece really starts to build and gets some momentum. You can really feel it going somewhere. And then it turns into Not to Touch the Earth. And this is maybe my favorite Doors song, this and The Crystal Ship. I love the organ and the guitar on this. It's animalistic, elemental. It feels dangerous, like reality is gonna come undone or something as they build the song out. In most of the versions, around a minute and a half, it gets more intense and crazier. Then there's this moment where it sounds kind of like a demented circus. Whether you believe Morrison was a shaman or not, I think this is evidence that he was at least trying to be or pretending to be. And you can feel the energy kind of swirling around in the recordings. I can't imagine what it would have been like to be there. This section was the only part that was released on an album on Waiting for the Sun. But then the section ends with I am the Lizard King, I can do anything. Perhaps his most famous lyric. And it turns into Names of the Kingdom. I think this part is kind of sad or melancholy a little. Feels kind of heavy. One thing about him is a lot of people say he was pretentious, but I don't think they understood what he was getting at with his poetry. And I definitely see him as more of a poet than a rock star. It's occult, it's alchemical, ghostly at times. It definitely wears existence on its sleeve. It's about living in the moment, focused on becoming. Unfortunately, a lot of people haven't read the lyrics outside of the music, and they do read differently. I think when you see them separate, they're a little bit sadder. If you've read the book Wilderness, you know what I mean. You can also hear them a bit more on American Prayer because that was intended to be more of a poetry album. It got changed later. They added their music to it, but you can still kind of hear it. Then it moves on to The Palace of Exile. This has one of my favorite lyrical passages in it. Now night arrives with her purple legion. Retire now to your tents and to your dreams. Tomorrow we enter the town of my birth. I want to be ready. It's an interesting way to end this epic. Leaves you kind of hanging. It's ambiguous. You wonder what would come next. I think there's something mystifying about this whole thing, but let's get into the pros. It's ambitious. This is Morrison without a leash. He wanted this to be an entire side of an album, but nobody in the band or the record company agreed with him. I can see it though. I think there are a few songs on Waiting for the Sun that I think you could have nixed in favor of this. So I can see a version of that album with this as like the B-side. It's almost more of an incantation or a ritual. If you've watched my other channel, you know what that channel is about, and a lot of what he's talking about here is evident on my other channel. This takes beat poetry, Dionysian ritual, and performance art, stuff that they did in the end, but kind of pushing it to its limits, I think. The cons. Is it indulgent? Maybe. Is it uneven? Perhaps. Does it sometimes collapse under its own ambition? Probably. Like I said, some people find Morrison pretentious. So if you're one of those people, you're gonna hate this because it is all in on that. This is unfettered Morrison for good or ill. Final thoughts. There are several versions out there. These are probably the most hailed. And I would say my favorite is from the American Nights version. It's a bit more confrontational. It's also the one I've listened to the most. I used to have this cassette that I would listen to over and over again in my truck on the way to work. And I haven't owned a vehicle in over 25 years, so you can imagine how long ago that was. But I used to listen to this all the time. And there's definitely a magic in here. It is certainly occult, and it's just kind of beautiful, I think. And I kind of think in some ways he doesn't get enough credit as a poet. People always see the rock star first. But I also think the band is spectacular on this. They're kind of taking him on this journey. He's providing the direction, but they're kind of moving him around. It's just great. Anyway, if you have anything to say about it, you can post it below. But that's all I got. Take care. Have a good one.